Okay, good evening, everyone. Yeah, so today we're going to look at version control. Yeah, we didn't have sessions the last 2 days that we were supposed to have them, but it's okay. We can always cover up for them. Yeah, so we are now going to look at something which may sound totally new to you. Yeah, but it is very important, and I'm sure you'll understand it very well. Yeah, so there happens that you write in programs. Okay, for example, I'm developing a website. Then I start with some simple code, or maybe I start with a certain index page and I've used maybe certain cards. Then I go on improving on my website. It's kind of like I have different versions. Yeah, so you may want to revert back to either the first version, the second version, or the third to check on. Maybe you want to, let me say you want to undo certain things. Not that you totally want to go away with them, but you want to compare this design against the other design. So one way you can do it is maybe you can save different files. Now, if it is a complete website, you may need to save different folders. If your website is called Flex Cities, like the one we developed, you may decide Flex Cities version 1. Then go to Flex Cities version 2, Flex Cities version 3, but that is not really ideal because it is so hectic. You're going to take a lot of space, and also comparing becomes very hard. Yeah, so fine, it can work, but when a project is very large, it can't work out. Yeah, so there is what they call version control, and that one helps you to do that. You track changes in certain files. Yeah, so it always takes what they call a snapshot. Take it as a screenshot. Yeah, but it's called a snapshot. It's like the current state. So every time it takes a snapshot of that file and it stores it, takes a snapshot and stores it. And guess what? When it is storing it, it's not that it takes another space like putting version 1, 1.1. No. For it, it attaches a certain, it's called the hash number to it, but you stay with just the same file. But when you want to revert to any version or to any state, you can easily revert to that. So that's what all version control is about. Just tracking, like making changes in the files, and you're able to track them so that you can always refer to the old files. Yeah, and either there is a lot you can do with that, and it's very, very helpful. Yeah, so there are different version control systems. Yeah, there are those ones. Now we're not going to go so much in detail with them, but there are those ones which are called central, where you just have one computer. First of all, version control even allows people to collaborate. Like we can be 2 different developers located in let's say working from home. We are not meeting, but we can be able to work on the single file, and we are able to see the changes someone has made. In case there are conflicts, there is a way of merging them. Yeah, so there are different types of version control systems. There is what they call central, distributed, and others. Yeah, but now we're looking at distributed. And when you make research, you can understand why. But now I want us to go directly to what we're interested in, and that is called Git. So Git is one of the version control system which is very, very commonly used. Yeah, and it is very advanced. Yeah, so Git is a version control system. Then what about GitHub? Now, GitHub is just a platform. It's a web platform that is built on top of Git. So it gives you more features. It enables you to use Git or to use version control in very many ways. So those are 2 things that we're going to look at. Yeah, so moving on to, now we've talked about version control, that is tracking like the changes that are made in the different files. Yeah, or in a certain file, and you want to revert back to any version or any state, you can easily do that with version control. Yeah, then talked about Git is one type of version control system called a distributed version control system. And that one allows you to track or to keep changes, or to easily refer to the changes that you've made in your file. Yeah. Then now, how does Git and GitHub work? So for now, we're going to first look at just Git. How does Git work? Yeah, so it happens that for Git to work, you need to install it on your computer. Yeah. So it depends on the operating system you're using. If you're using Windows, you need to download. So just visit the website. Even if I don't give you direct link, you can always come to Google and search for Git. Just type Git download. Then that one will take you to this website, this one here. Click on downloads. Then it's going to ask you whether you're using Mac OS, that is for Apple. Then whether you're using Windows or when you're using Linux. Now it happens that for Linux and Mac OS, Git comes installed on those computers. It comes when it is already installed. But for Windows, you need to download. You click on Windows, then you download it. Yeah, so right now the download is loaded, but I'm not going to go ahead with it. But that's how you download. Once you're done downloading, then you install it on the computer. Yeah, we're not going to go into the process, but you just double click on the setup, leave most of the things by default. Then after that, you'll have Git installed. So when you search for it, there's going to be Git Bash, there's going to be Git CMD and Git GUI. Yeah, so CMD is like command prompt using Git in the command prompt, but that command prompt will be looking like Windows. Yeah, so that is Git CMD. Then Git GUI gives you kind of like a graphical user interface, which you can easily use as you're using Git. Yeah. Then Git Bash, it gives you also a command line interface, but now this time around, it allows you to use Linux commands. Yeah, so this is the one we're going to use for the start, but I'm also going to show you the one that has a graphical user interface. So we're going to learn about commands, but later on, we're also going to learn about how you can use what they call Github Desktop. Yeah. So right now we have Git. Yes. Now we're sure it is installed. The way you can check whether Git is installed before you see those. In most cases, when you go to either Linux or Mac OS, even in Windows, you can just type in git -- version. And then it will tell you the version of Git that you have. In case it is not installed, it will tell you the command is unknown. But now this one proves to us that it is installed. Yeah, so we have Git installed. Okay, so what do you need to do in order for you to start like using GitHub? Okay, so there it needs you to have you start working on a project, of course. So I'm going to open desktop and I create a new project. Maybe I'm going to call it web. Yeah, let me just call it web project. Yeah, so all the files I'm going to create here, I want them to be tracked. I want Git to track the changes that are made into those files. Yeah, so what do? You use the command. So there are different Git commands that we're going to look at. But before we do look at that, let's just look at a simple flowchart. You may not understand it now, but later on when you do it practically, then you understand it better. Yeah, so this is how GitHub works, like in a nutshell. Yeah, so when you open this folder, you write a command called git init. It means initialize. So what it means is that please Git, you start track the progress or like the changes that I'm making in my files. Yeah, so that is the first command that you need to make. So this is a folder. Then you start creating your files. Yeah, so when you create the files, there are some commands that are going to be so common. Now there are different areas. like here, this folder I'm working with my files. Then as I'm working with my files, I need to add those files to the Git, or like I need to tell Git, now start track this one, start tracking this one, start tracking this one. I can have a big project, but I want to track certain files, not all of them. That's why it gives you the option for you to add manually. But you can even say Git add all, and it adds all of them. So it will add all of them into what they call a staging area. So what is a staging area? I'm not going to explain it like technical. I just want you to understand it. A staging area is like when I install GitHub, it creates kind of like a database where it's going to store those snapshots that we're talking about. So before you confirm that, now store that snapshot, store that current state. Let's call it current state. Store that state. Where the files are kept, it's called a staging area. It's kind of like maybe you're taking a taxi and you wait from the stage. That's what it means. It's just, they have not yet reached in a snapshot, but they are still there. Yeah. So with that, you can still make more changes to them when you're sure that, yes, now this, I want to save this state. I want to save my file when it is this state. You commit. That's what they call Git commit. You commit them into a repository. Now, a repository, take it as a directory to simplify things. Yeah, but it means like a project or a collection of different files. So when you do Git commit, your changes, or like it's going to take another snapshot and it saves it. Yeah, so these are some of the commands. Now we're going to look at commands, but you don't need to cram them, or you don't need even to remember them. Yeah, because we're also going to look at the graphical user interface. So whichever interests you is what you are going to do. Okay. Yeah, so that's how Git works. All right. So also this is explaining the same thing. There is we said you have a working directory, like a folder. Then you say Git initialize. With Git initialize, it means that please Git start tracking progress of my files. Yeah. So after that, you have you add different files into the staging area. So you can see that here you've added different files. Take these envelopes as different files. So once you're sure that now I want to take the state, remember you have different files that are going on, but you want to take a snapshot of the project, the whole project, when those files are in that state. Then you commit. It's called Git commit. But as you're committing, you add a message just to remind you. Maybe you've added a certain feature, so you add the commit message with that. Now, when you commit, that snapshot will be stored in your local repository. Local repository means that on your computer, there is that repository that is created by Git. Now, when you want to use GitHub, GitHub is in, let's say, in the cloud, like it's online. So instead of storing those snapshots only on your computer, you can make a copy and they are stored remotely on GitHub. GitHub is totally free. Yeah, there are very few occasions that you need to use the premium version or the pro version. Yeah, most of the things you can do them with the free version, and there's no limit to the number of like files that you can store. Yeah, so now if you want to have, like, on a computer, I have my project, but it is also there on GitHub. Yeah, so you connect the two, and once you make changes in what is on your computer, you can do what they call push. You push those changes to your GitHub account. Yeah, so that is the command you see, Git push. You push the changes to your GitHub account. Then in case you've maybe modified from there, or someone else has pushed to the same repository, because you can collaborate on the same repository, in order for you to download, let's call it download changes onto the repository on your computer, you use what they call Git pull. That is the command. We're going to look at all those commands. Git pull to bring now the changes which are in the remote or which are on GitHub onto your computer. Yeah, so that's like in a nutshell how Git works. Now we're going to look at Git commands. They are very, very many, but we're going to look at the ones which are so commonly used, and they are less than 10. So you can get them and understand them, and actually you'll find it easier to use commands than the graphical user interface. But we're going to look at all of them. So the first one is called Git init or Git initialize, and we said that one helps you to start making or start tracking the progress of making Git to start following the changes that are made in your files. Okay, now before you even add anything, I can just come here to my web project. I've created it under desktop. I come to web project. Now I can open this here. If I'm going to use this command prompt, how do? I just right click, then I go to Git Bash here. Yeah, so it's kind of like I want to open that command line interface when it is here. Yeah. But if I'm to open it from this other side, you can use Linux commands and you navigate and you come to where your file is located. Now, let me just show it to you, but don't overmind about this. Let me first increase the size. Don't overmind about this. And also, we can only use black background. I hope it will be clear to you. Yeah. So these are Linux commands. I'm going to show you a few Linux commands, which it's good to learn them, but in case you don't know them, don't overmind about them. Yeah, there is one that can show me the current, where is this located? Like where am I? It's called print working directory. So right now it is under users and the username of the computer is called PC. So if I want to go to desktop, I just use CD, which means change directory. Now, these are not part of Git, but they help you when you're using Git in the command line like interface. Now, right now I've switched to desktop. When I use ls, it means list the files which are on desktop or which are where I am. So I can see that there is web project. So I need to go into that folder. So I use CD again, that is change directory, and I type, in case there is space in this, I need to put them in quotes because there is a space in the name of the folder. So if I go to print working directory, I'm under web project. So this is the same as me clicking and I come and I open here. Like I right click, then I say Git Bash here. It is the same, it's going to come. And if I type here, if I type print working directory, it will show me that I'm under web project, which is the same as what we have here. Yeah, so that is just, those are just bonuses. Good to know and actually good for the programmer to know. Yeah, so now we are in that folder. So we need to tell Git, please start track the progress that are, the changes that are made to whichever thing we put here. Though we can ignore some, but for now I just want it to be initialized there. So that's why they call Git initialize. So you just type Git space init. So for every command that we're going to write, we're going to be starting with the word Git for every command. Yeah, so Git init, that is initialize, press enter. Yeah, so it will take some time and it will tell you initialize empty Git repository. Fine, yeah, we know the repository, we don't have any files there. That's why it is having an empty Git repository. Okay, so now how do we be sure that Git is now tracking the progress? So when I come back here, I don't see anything. This is what we've initialized. Like we've told it, please start making changes or like start tracking what is happening to this. Okay, how do I know? Now it happens that there is a folder there, but it is hidden so that you don't make changes to it. So how do you see hidden files in Windows? You go to view. Now it's not that this is required. I'm just trying to show you that what it means. Yeah, so you go to hidden items. So under hidden items, now you can see that I have a folder, it's called .git. Yeah, so it is hidden. Within it, there is some code, there are some files. So these files help Git to start track or to start starting to track the changes that are made in my files. Yeah, so they hide the folder. Why? Because whichever is inside is very technical. You don't want to damage any. Even if the folder is empty, it means something. You don't need to delete anything. Yeah, so that's it. I'm going to go back and I uncheck this so that I don't see hidden files. But now I know that whichever I'm writing here now, Git can start tracking it. Okay, so I'm going to open Visual Studio Code here. Then, I'm going to create my files here. You can do the normal of Notepad and what, but just due to the interest of time, I'm just going to be using a Visual Studio Code. So I can either right click here and I say open with code, or it happens that on Mac OS or Linux, you can just type code, then press dot, then it will open Visual Studio Code there in that same folder. Yeah, so we have our project here called web project. We're going to create some files. Okay, so let's just, for the start, we're just going to use one file. That is index.html. Yeah, so down here, you can see that now this has what they call a master branch. Okay, we shall talk about branching, but all this is trying to show us that we are using GitHub. You can see here that it is proposing that we publish to GitHub because we're still using just Git. Yeah, so it's called web project in bracket Git, which shows that Git is tracking our changes. Yeah, so now let's write some small code. Yeah, then I'm going to just say, say testing GitHub, Git, just Git. We've not yet reached GitHub. Okay, so I can call this title version control. Okay, so we've started making changes. What has GitHub done? Let's go back and see whether it is doing anything. Nothing is happening here. How do I know? There happens to have a code called Git Status. Yeah, I'm going to be navigating through them. You will see at the end, we shall be using almost all of them. There's a code which is called Git Status. Now this one just tells you the status of your like files. So I will type Git Status, then it will tell me there's untracked files. Yeah, so it is in red, meaning that I've not yet told Git to start tracking that file, however much I have that file in my folder. So it is even telling me how can I write a code in order for me to add it to Git so that Git can start making tracking it. Okay, so what I do is I type Git add, then I type the name of the file, the way you're seeing it here. Git add, then the file name. So the file name is index.html. Press enter. Yeah, it doesn't show anything, but now when we run Git status again, it's not going to bring red, it's going to bring green color, which will tell me that fine, you've added it, but it is still in the staging area. Remember, we said the staging area means that you've not yet said that please make a snapshot of this, or please save the current status of my file or my files. Yeah, so it's what it is trying to tell me, that you remove it to unstage it, like you remove it from the staging area. Yeah, so with that, I'm going to use another command. Every command for Git starts with Git. Yes, so now I need to have added it. Yes, now Git is tracking it, but it is still in the staging area. I need to commit it to the repository so that the current state, the way this looks like, is saved. I can always even refer to it back at any time. Yeah, so Which command do I use? It's called Git Commit. Git Commit. Yes, I'm committing the changes. So now if we go back here to our flow chart, yeah, you can see that we've initialized the file. We've added them and they are in the staging area. Now we need to store that snapshot. So we use Git Commit. But as you storing them, you need to add a message. So that message helps you. Like especially when you're collaborating, someone can know you made changes. Which changes are those? So the message should be short but descriptive. Yeah, so I type -m to mean message, then I type my message into quotes. So I can say this is my first commit. Yeah, so at least there I understand that this was the first commit or it is the first version. Then I press enter. Yeah, then it will do certain things. It shows you some hash number. For now, not so much interested in it. We just want to ensure that it has added, it has committed, it has saved that current state. How do you know? Go to Git Status. Okay, so now here it shows nothing to commit. Working tree clean means that everything is up to date. We've saved the snapshot. Now, if I come back here and I add maybe another line, I say maybe so far so good. I save, I come back with this, I type Git Status. Yeah, it's going to tell me there are some modifications that have been done. So these messages are self-descriptive, like it can tell you changes not staged for commit. Then it tells me which file has received a modification. And it's still in red. Why? I've not, okay, I need now to, for now, I don't need to add the file. I just need to commit. Yeah. So, or I can just say Git Add All in case I want to add all the files like to Git. Now let's run status and we see what it will bring. Yeah. So we need to add it again. We need to add that file again onto GitHub. Then we commit. So after adding it, this star means all. Yeah. So if in case I add very many files, like maybe CSS, style.css, maybe images, I've added more images and I've made modifications to most of the files. When I say Git add all, it will add all of them again. Then it will show you that you've modified, but you've not yet committed. Yeah, so we commit again. Git commit, add another message, and you say this is my, okay, added, let me just say added another paragraph. Yeah, that is just a message. Yeah, then it would show me one file changed. Then here it would show me 2 insertions and 1 deletion. And we shall understand what that one means. For now, those are the most used commands when using Git only on the computer. Yeah, so I'm just using it only on the computer. So which other commands that exist which are important? Yeah, you can type in Git Log, and Git Log will show you the history. Yeah, so it will show me, and now it happens that I logged into this. Yeah, I logged into this, that's why it can use my name, my GitHub username. It can show me as the author, and this is my email address, and this is my GitHub username. Then the date. Then here it is showing me the messages. So at first I made the first commit. Then these are the details. Now this number, it's called hash number. That hash number is the one that will help me in case I want to revert back to that like to the state. So now we remember very well. It was only having testing Git. It didn't have so far so good. So the state when it was just having testing Git, it used this number. Like I can use this number to get back to that current state or to that previous state. And how do I do that? Yeah. I know I'm introducing a lot of commands, but later on we shall have another session repeating it just so that it sticks. Yeah, but I just want to show you how it works. So for now, appreciate, but you learn slowly. Yeah, so how can I go back to that? Yeah, it happens that there's a command, it's called Git Reset. Yeah, if I say Git Reset and I stop there it's going to go to the very first state, like the first state. That is before I made the first commit. Yeah, sorry, I made a spelling error here, but I meant first commit. Yeah, so if I do Git Reset, it's going to take my file back to the way it looked like, yeah, by then. But now just imagine I've done a lot of like I've done a lot of commit and I have very many commit messages. Like I don't only have 2 changes. Yeah, so with that one, in case you want to go to a specific version, a snapshot, I've told you a snapshot is now like this. These are the details and this is the message I made. I use this hash number. Yeah, where do I put it? You just type git reset, then dash hard, mean hard reset. It's just bring back the file to that. Then I paste in, I copy this hash number, right click, copy, then I paste it here. Then I press enter. Yeah, so now when I check, yeah, you can see the line has disappeared. I've not removed it, like I've not removed it manually. It has disappeared. Why? Because we written this. We told it, please go back to the other state. So with that, I've used just the same file. As for now, you can see it is simple, or like it is not doing a lot of things because there were 2 lines of code. But once you start working on a very huge project that a certain feature is like 1,000 lines of code, you can see how important it is. Yeah, but it still works in the same way. Like we can jump over to any version or any snapshot that we were at. Yeah, so that is Git Reset. Yeah, so we've looked at the following commands. We said 1, you need to first initialize your folder that you're working in. After initializing it, create files, then add them to the staging area by using git add them to the staging area. Then once you're sure that, yes, now this current state, I want to save this so that I can refer to this state in the future. Use Git Commit, type in some message so that you can easily identify that. Then you commit them. Yeah, so those are 3 most like very important commands. Then we've looked at others like Git Status that will show us the status. Like Git Status will show us whether there's something that needs to be committed or needs to be added. Then we've looked at Git Log that gives us the history. Yeah, it gives us the history that the changes that we've been making. Yeah, so those are most commonly used commands as we're using Git on the computer only. We've not used GitHub. Yeah, then I'm just now going to show you how you can use it with GitHub when you're using the command prompt. Then in the last like 10 minutes, we shall look at the graphical user interface that allows you to do all this without writing any code. Yeah, so, okay, so now I'm going to create another project. But in this time around, I'm going to ensure that I work with GitHub. Yeah, so what do you need? You need to have a GitHub account. Yeah, so in order for you to get a GitHub account, you go to github.com, go to sign up, then you sign up. Now, saving on time, I already have an account, so I'm just going to use the one that I have. Okay, so this is my account, the GitHub account. So all I need to do is create a new repository. It's kind of like a new project. That's what it means. So I click on new, or you can go github.com/new to create a new repository. Yeah, so when I create that new repository, it's going to be empty. I'm going to download it onto the computer. After downloading it on the computer, I start adding files while I'm on the computer. Once I've made changes to them, and I'm sure this, now I need to store this on GitHub, I'll push those changes. Yeah, so let me see, it is taking long. Maybe it is. Okay, I'm just going to refresh it. Let me check here, just to be sure. Okay. I'm supposed to go to github.com, then /new. For some reasons, okay. All right, I can use another web browser just to be sure. I don't know what is happening to Chrome. github.com, then /new. Create a new one in case you logged in into that. Yeah, so I'm logged into my account. So you just come to your account, then click on new to create a new repository. Yeah, so you need to give it a name. So we're going to call it a name. Let's call it VMEDI web. Like that. So there it will show you whether the name is available. When it is available, it means that no one is using it. So you're free to use it. Okay. Yeah, in case I know that this is going to be a website and I'm going to use like GitHub pages, like what we saw last time, you can add .io on the name. Yeah, so this one, okay, already existing. Let me just remove that. Yeah, so let's call it vmedweb.io. So this is just a name, but just that when you know that you're going to make it a website and later on you expect to use GitHub pages like what you used last time to host this, you can add .io. Then you can optionally give a description. Like I can say this is a repository for testing Git. Okay. Then now you can make your repository public or private. What does it mean? When it is public, everyone on the internet can view that code, but they cannot modify unless they download and modify on their computers or unless you give them authorization. Yeah, but you can say now, why do I make my code to be visible to everyone? There's what they call open source software. When you hear that the software is open source, it means that you can look at its code on GitHub, or there are other platforms like GitLab, there's Bitbucket, all of those build on top of Git, but GitHub is the one which is so commonly used. Yeah, so once something is open source, it means that its code is available on the internet. You can look at it. Like Linux, its code is available, but Microsoft Windows, it's cross source. It's not open source. You can't see the code they use to develop the Windows. Yeah. So we want it to be public. And then these ones are optional. You can add a README file where you create documentation. Yeah, then this .git ignore is the one that helps you to ignore certain files that you don't want to Git to work. And then there's also license. So for now, I'm just going to add a README file, and that is okay or good enough for me to create that repository. Okay, so I can see it here. It only has README. Yeah, it's a markdown file. It's like a text file, but there's nothing for now there. So this is my repository. Now, how do I download it on my computer? Then it's also start communicating to this. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So there are different ways, but I'm going to show you one of them. You click on code, like you come to the repository, because when I go to my account, I have very many repositories. Now you need to go to that exact repository that you want to work with. So you can click on repositories, then it is this one. Okay, then click on code. Then it will give you different ways of like downloading that file. So we have HTTPS, SSH, GitHub, CLI. Now I'm not going to explain most of them, but for now we're just going to go to HTTPS. Then we copy this. This happens to be the URL of the repository. Like this is where the repository is located. So that's what we need to copy. Then you come to your Git Bash. Then you go to the folder where you're going to copy that project to. So now here I can use CD dash dash to just move back. Okay, it's kind of like when I'm using this Explorer, when I click on this, it is the same thing I've done here. So it has moved one step back. So I just want to create a folder where we're going to download our repository. Yeah, then it will start communicating to GitHub. So I'm going to create a folder. Yeah, in Linux, these are Linux commands, or even in Windows, some work in Windows. mkdir means make a working directory or make a folder. And that folder, I'm going to call it web. Just, yeah. Then I move into that folder. So change directory web. So right now I'm in that folder. So what I've done there with commands is the same way. When I check now on desktop, this is what I've created. I've created web, then I moved here. So it's the same thing, just that I've used commands. Yeah, so now how do we download it onto this computer? You use a command called Git Clone. Yeah, so it's kind of like make a copy of that and put it here. So I come to Git Clone, then I paste the URL. Sorry, I had something which was on, like I'd copied it. It's not the URL. I need to go back and I copy it. So need to clear that. I come here, click on code, go to HTTPS, copy this, come here, Git clone, then you type the URL. So right click, paste. This is the URL. So I'm cloning, like I'm making a copy. A clone is kind of like a duplicate. I'm making a duplicate, which is on GitHub. I'm putting it on a computer. Press enter. So it is cloning it. Yeah, so now it is done. So let's check there. What is there? We can use ls to list which files are there. So for now, it has created this folder. This folder wasn't there. Remember, we created just one folder called web here. Web. Now it has brought this and it has got it from internet. And now you can see there is readme. That is the file which is here on GitHub. Okay. Now we've croned it, but we've not yet made like any communication. Like we've not created files and pushing them onto the repository. That's what we need to do right now. So now I'm there. I need to go inside this folder, this one here. So I can copy that and I paste here. So right now I'm in that folder, like I've entered into the folder inside. It's the same thing as coming to this. Yeah. Okay, so what do I need to do? I need to open Visual Studio Code here. Then I start adding my files. So I have VS Code here, and I can see that there's just README. This is a file for documentation. We shall run how we write this. This is it's actually easier than HTML. It's just for documentation. It's called Markdown. So here we're going to create our file. Now index.html. Yeah, I write some code there. Call this VMEDI. All right, then I can say hello learners, maybe. Yeah, so if I open my website, I'm just opening the way the website looks like. Yeah, It's just having hello learners. Let's use H1 instead of paragraph. H1. Okay, so this is our website. There's some extended this. Okay, hello learners. That's how our website looks like. Now let's check on GitHub what has happened there on our repository. We've created index.html. We try to refresh. It's not showing the file. Why? We've not yet told it to we've not told it to push, like to send the changes. We've not committed on the local repository and not yet pushed. So we need to come here and look at Git status. Yeah, so it can show me there is one file and you've not yet included it. So I go to Git add, I type the name of the file. I can type asterisk to mean add all of them. Now, when I run Git status, to show me that, yes, you've added it, but you've not committed it. Yeah, so we commit those changes, Git commit, the message. I can say, hello learners. Okay, first push, first commit and hello learners. Just send a message. This can be anyone. Yeah, now I've committed them. Now that means on the local repository or like on the local computer, I have committed my changes, but they are not yet pushed to the Github account. When I try to refresh, nothing is happening here. Okay, so, okay, we're now going to try to push, but due to certain security reasons, we're not going to go into that, but I need to use certain code. It's kind of like a password. So when it asks for that, I'll just paste it in. Yeah, but just ignore that step for now. Just for now, concentrate on the commands. So when we click on Git status, when we check on Git status, we can see that it has a message that says your branch is ahead of origin main by one commit. Okay, now what does branch means? So it happens that when you are creating files, you may decide to work on different features. So in case you want to work on different features, you create branches for them. So as I'm building a website, I'm working on login feature, let me do the branch. So you make modifications from there. Once it works, you merge it with the main code. So by default, it comes with one branch and that branch is called main branch. Yeah, but I can add other branches later on. So that's why the message is saying your branch is ahead of, like, the local branch. This local branch, it's called main. The one on the computer is ahead of the one which is on GitHub by one commit. Like, by the snapshot has not yet been pushed onto the GitHub. And it even tells me use Git Push to publish your local commits. Yeah. So now when I type in Git Push, it has to send those changes onto the GitHub website or my repository. Type Git Push, press enter. I've told you to use security purposes. Okay, I'd already provided it, which is good. Yeah, so now it will do some messages. Yeah, you can read through, but kind of technical. Yeah, but as long as you see this, that from this main branch, it has published to the other main branch, like it has published to this too. This is the repository in which it has published to. We come here and refresh, we should see that index.html. Yeah, so it is here. So now we have a copy on GitHub, then also have a copy down here. Okay, so what happens if someone else, or if I edit the file when I'm on GitHub and the local repository, the changes have not yet been made? What happens? Okay, So it happens that on GitHub, I can edit a file. I'm just going to add another line with H2. Then I can say, you are welcome. What does that mean? It means whichever we have on GitHub is now ahead what we have on our computer. So how do we make them to be updated with what is online? So now I've not yet pushed. It happens on the interface. In case I want to push, I need to type the message here. So I can type the message without quotes, added welcome message. So they need to be descriptive because this is what I've done. I've added a welcome message. Yeah, then you can add extended description, then just click on commit changes. Yeah. So it happens here, what we have, this one has 2 lines of code, but the one we have on computer has 1. It doesn't have that welcome message. So can GitHub detect that? We come here and check Git status. Okay, now here it can't detect that the changes were made to the other side, but you need to use what they call Git. Remember when we are pushing, like when we are uploading the file, we use Git Push to upload it. But now I want to download the other changes onto my computer. So I use Git Pull. Yeah, just that, Git Pull. I'm already working this one. And also I did Git Clone, and it knows the repository on which I'm currently working on. So I only need to say Git Pull, press enter. It's going to take some time, then it downloads the files. Yeah, so it has downloaded them, then it can tell me where it has got them from. Now these ones mean certain things, like there were some files, some lines which were added to the file. So it even shows me one file change. So let me open Visual Studio Code. I've not yet opened and edited it manually, but it should have added that file. Remember, Visual Studio Code is offline. It's like it's on our computer. Then the other one was edited on GitHub. So when I check, we find the second line like that. So basically, that's how Git works. So I've been able, now I make changes to my files, I push them. There is a lot more you can do, but first learn this, like what we've learned today. First learn this, that you can make changes. You can make changes or like revert to different versions of your code and even push them to your GitHub account. Yeah, so in a nutshell, those are the most used GitHub commands. There are others which are a little bit advanced, like in certain case scenarios, especially on very big projects. But for now, these are the ones we use most. Git status checks the status. Now, if I come to Git log, shows me history. Git initialize, you start tracking, that is Git init. You ensure that Git is working. Git add the files into the staging area, commit them, push them to the remote repository. Once you want the other changes are made to come down to your computer, use Git pull, they'll be down there. But now, in case you want to work with GitHub, just start with Git clone so that you clone the other repository onto the computer, then you can easily. Yeah, but you can also start with if you have something, like if you have Git that is tracking a certain project and is not yet published onto the internet. Now let's open the first one we worked on. Going to open, it's called web project. This one, yeah. So instead of using commands, I'm just going to show you now the easier ways. You can see that here we have Git, but now this is proposing publish to GitHub. I can click on this, then a repository will be created on GitHub. Yeah, remember this first website or the project we worked on, we only use the local server. We only use the computer. We didn't publish to GitHub. Okay, so all right, so let me open this again. It is web, the one we've been working with. It's called web, this one here. Okay, so once we make more changes, we just, the process is just repetitive. Like I can make a paragraph, but then we are proud to have you. Save that, come back here. I check with Git status and see I need to add certain files. So Git add all of them, then Git commit a message. I typed some message. So what am I saying here? We are proud of you. So I can say proud message. Okay. So now when I check Git status, it will show me that this is way ahead of origin main. It is ahead of what is on GitHub. We check, that line is not yet here. So I come back here and I say Git push. Here, it should automatically come. Yeah, so refresh this. The line that says we are proud of you, it is here. Now you can say, what if it is conflicting? Like I can't make changes here. I make the changes on local computer. I try to push and there are changes that were made this side. Yes, that one happens and they are called conflicts, but we're not going to cover them today. They are called merge conflicts. We shall look at them on Wednesday. Yeah, so now I'm going to look at Github Desktop that I want you to use. Yeah, I know that commands are hard. Okay, they are hard for the start, but when you learn them, you actually prefer them better than even clicking because they make everything faster. Yeah, so what else can you use instead of the commands? That's what we're going to look at. So exit this. There's what they call GitHub Desktop. Now you need to search and download it. It's called GitHub Desktop. It gives us a user interface where we can use those phenomena, like everything we want to use. Once you download it, install it, then it will look like this. So once you click on it, it will tell you to log into it with your account. So for me, I already logged into it, but it looks like this. Yeah. So for it happens that you can just click file, new repository, create a new repository, then you publish it. Okay, let's do that. So once you logged in, it will be showing you what you have on the computer, like here, then also what you have in like your remote repository or on GitHub. So if I want to, like when I come to this, to existing repository, and I click on code, I come to GitHub CLI, you can still have this option, open with GitHub Desktop. So I can either start with this or I can start from scratch by creating a new repository. Click on file, new repository, give it a name. So this is new web. Let me just call it new web. Give it a description. I'm just going to call it testing repo. Now, it's going to save on GitHub, but it also needs to save on the computer. So the local path it's now asking me where should the local path be. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it to that, documents, then GitHub, but you can change. So it's going to make a copy of that repository inside this folder. Documents, then GitHub. Yeah. Then click on create repository. So now it's going to create it here. Then after creating it here, I can publish it to GitHub. When I come to GitHub and I check in my account, I still have only 30 repositories. I don't have that one I've just created. So I need to publish it on GitHub. Click on publish repository. Okay, then you check details. They are all okay. Click on publish. Now it is pushing it to GitHub. So we're not using any command. Just that it consumes data sometimes as it is processing in the background. Certain things are going in the background. Yeah. So now it shows me that message has exited and it is published here. So let me come and refresh this. It should be showing me 31. Let me check. Yeah, you can see it is here. It's called new web. I forgot and I left it to private, but you can change later on. Yeah, but I have it here. But I've published it with Github Desktop. So now when I want to create files, I can just click on Open Visual Studio Code. Now you may ask, if I don't have Visual Studio Code, just go to that location of local path and you open it with either Notepad++ or even Notepad. So we come here. Then as we've been doing, we add that index.html. Then we add some code. So today we're not going to add a lot of code. We time that. Testing Git, GitHub Desktop. Okay, save. Now we come to GitHub Desktop. Now it can show me the file. This is local and this is, okay, it's trying to show me the state. So this one means that they are in green. I've not committed the changes. I've not yet added them. And click on this can show me you like further details. Now I need to commit. Once I am committing, I need to type in a message. That commit message, I just type it here. So I'll just say first commit. Click on commit to main. Yeah, now it can show me that no local changes. Locally, there are no changes that have been made. Why? Because I've committed them. Unless I click on history. So from history, it can show me what I've committed. Yeah, but let me come to changes. Now it is telling me to push to the origin or like to the remote repository. That's what is called the origin. Now you can see that the commands are embedded there. It is using the same thing. So push, let's first check here. Yeah, there is not, the index.html is not here. Now I'm going to push. Click on push origin. Now it is publishing them on GitHub. Once it is done, we're going to check and you'll see that the file will be there on GitHub. Yeah, so right now it looks to be done. I refresh this. My index.html is here. Once I make changes here, GitHub Desktop will be showing me. Yeah, so that's how we use GitHub Desktop. Even Visual Studio Code can help you do Git with down here. It gives you certain, like you can do version control with just Visual Studio Code. But I just wanted to show you Git Bash, that is the command line interface, then also GitHub Desktop. Now we're going to be using GitHub Desktop, though I propose you adopt to commands, but just that we want, this is not, the main aim is not to learn, okay, it's not to just learn Git, it's just to use Git. So we can go with the GitHub Desktop. It's okay to go with that. Yeah, so do we have any questions?
No.
Okay, anyone? Questions, confusion, anything you'd like to say? Okay. Then we meet on Wednesday, but keep working on your projects. We yet to start checking on you. Yeah, but we want those projects now to be hosted on GitHub. That's why I'm now teaching you GitHub. I want you to use version control with them. Yeah, in addition to HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap, you add Git. Once you learn those, you're going to become what they call a front-end web developer. Yeah, who's just missing one more language. It's called JavaScript, but at least HTML and CSS plus Bootstrap is the starting age. Like you need to first learn those ones before you go into JavaScript. But now there is no developer, or there is no modern developer that doesn't use version control. If you're just uploading your code on Google Drive and share a link to another person, No way. You need to have a GitHub account and should be having repositories so that people just refer to that. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to end here. We meet on Wednesday, same time. Have a great night.
You too.